There is just this one decision, transformation, change that you have to make in order to set into motion every form of healing, every spiritual awakening, and the success of any manifestation or reality creation practice that you might have. Welcome to Beyond the Matrix. My name is Boris Kirchner. Today I want to talk to you about the one shift that makes all the rest of reality shift in kind. So when we look out in the world and we see that there's all of these different problems that are happening, maybe our own personal problems, problems in relationships, in finances, in health, maybe world problems, and seeing the economic decay, seeing the societal decay, seeing all these things that seem to be out there and imposing their will on me, imposing some conditions, some circumstances that I don't want to have. This particular setup is the very foundation of the dream matrix. Remember that the whole purpose of the dream matrix is to extract energy, right? The dream matrix is dependent on life force extracted through you, through all and every form of suffering, right? This wheel of karma, this thing that the Buddha wanted so much to end, what was he talking about? He was talking about this perpetual suffering that is part of everything that unfolds here on this planet. And yet, here and now, always, we have the key, the potential, the ability to literally change the momentum of this thing that's been chugging along for eons, at very least to change that momentum personally for us individually. But as we'll find out, that every experience that happens individually is actually outpictured, right? Because the world is a reflection of your consciousness. So what is that shift? That one shift is the shift from victimhood to creatorship, right? This dimensional difference between seeing life happening to you in any particular experience, your partner saying something happening to you, your job turning out a particular way, your neighbors doing something, the economy doing something, all of these things, if they create any degree of contraction in you, that contraction is here to signal to you that you are still operating from the point of view of seeing yourself as a victim to external circumstances. This perception in and of itself is going to be fixing that sense of suffering right in place. That you can almost think about it as a little tap, like right with the, for example, maple syrup. They tap the tree and then they have this little fidget on it now that you turn on and the sap comes out. So as long as you have any aspect within your consciousness where you truly believe yourself to be a victim to anything, I'm not saying that there isn't moments of reactivity and reaction and feeling certain things, but when questioned, if somebody were to say, and you're so upset, and somebody were to say, oh, okay, so do you really feel that that person is responsible for how your experience is unfolding? Do you really blame that person for the outcome you're experiencing? If you still can honestly and in integrity say yes, as in, yes, that person is to blame, yes, that situation is determining what's happening for me, that is the very tap line, that is the very siphoning apparatus that is forever going to keep you in suffering. It is forever going to keep you plugged in to the matrix and giving your life force, your power, your energy, your consciousness away. So, but then you must say, well, but how do we move to the other direction when clearly there's all of these things that are impediments, obstacles, and blocking me from achieving the fulfillment of my desire, my happiness, my health, whatever it is, right? So this is the very important thing to see. One aspect, just one dimension of this, is to realize that all that you're seeing without this outer external world is actually happening within you. In the very same way, like your dreams at night, right? Remember, you go to sleep, a world appears very much like this one, with its own history, its own future. In that world, there may be people discussing what is the nature of this reality, and there may be scientists researching this and that and saying it's like this. But when you wake up in the morning, you say, oh my, that was all just a dream. And where was that dream? That dream was inside of you. Who were all of the characters and the landscapes and the buildings? What were they made of? Well, the very same thing that your inner world is made of. That world that you perceive through, the world of feelings, emotions, beliefs, that's what they were made of. They were made of consciousness. So in the very same way, this experience that we're dreaming right here, even though it seems to have a little bit more continuity than your nightly dreams, although that's questionable since that's a very subjective experience, when you're in your nightly dreams, they seem to have continuity too. Well, this is very much just like that nightly dream. All of this is happening within you. So when things are happening in the world and people are acting in certain ways, instead of saying like, you out there, you just need to change that. That shouldn't be, that shouldn't exist. You gotta say, wait a second. All of this is within me. Somehow I have given assent to all of this to be here, right? Somehow infinite intelligence is operating through, in, and as me, and this in one way or another belongs. Every atrocity and horrific thing that's happening due to ignorance of this very truth belongs, because just like when we can't walk, we don't know how to walk yet, and we fall and we fall and we fall, that act of falling and finding our balance is what actually empowers us in the end. It empowers us to have a transformation of consciousness where suddenly we know how to balance, suddenly we know how to recalibrate. And likewise, as humanity, we are going through this experience of darkness, this experience of challenge, and this experience where it seems like we're falling down. But this is the very same experience, just like when you're learning to walk, that we need this. This is part of it. I know it looks horrific. I know it sounds atrocious. I know that there's so many things that are happening in the world that no one in their right mind, but this is the key, in their right mind, no one in their right mind would actually perpetuate that. And yet, clear, right, that most of the world is not in their right mind. So that's why it's important for you who have a choice, because other people, even though of course everybody has the choice, that choice is not illuminated for them. And so if they don't see it, how can they choose it? If you've never heard of chocolate as a flavor of ice creams, how could you choose that flavor? It's just not part of your repertoire. So in the very same way, there's many, many people in the world who do not see choice, but you do, because you're here. And so now let's illuminate that choice and make it more clear, more concrete, more lucid. What is that choice? How do we go from victimhood, that sense of something is being done to me, or even I'm doing things to me, or something is wrong because things aren't going the way that I thought they should? How do we go from there to creator consciousness? It is all through the bridge of choice. So choice is the bridge. So the very first thing that I would love for you to do is to start to see where you have choice. So whatever situation that you feel victimized by, the first thing is, let's identify and be clear about how am I victimized. So you can take out a piece of paper and spend maybe 5 minutes, put on your phone timer, turn on 5 minutes, and start to write and say, okay, where in my life do I feel victimized? Where do I feel like I'm not in power? And power is being used against me, so to speak, and making me feel and be and live in certain ways that I don't want to, right? Where am I being imposed upon? Make a list of these things, of where there seems to be an external power oppressing you, making you do something. It could be, again, as simple as your dog pooping on your carpet, all the way through to what the government's doing, what your work's doing, what economy is doing, etc. All of these things. Make a list of each one of the places where, if you think about this, your heart does something like this, right? Your energy contracts, right? And if that's what's happening, perfect clue that that is a place where we're being victimized. How do we know this? How do we know that this is a clue and this is what actually is happening? Here it is. When you are doing this exercise, probably, I imagine for most of us here, we are in a safe place. Like we're not being chased by tigers. There's nobody coming. There's no guns blazing. There's safety. There's a roof, right? There's some kind of warmth. I have something to drink, something to eat, right? Most of us here watching this video are in exactly that kind of position. So here you are, mostly neutral, and then you're doing this exercise and suddenly you start to feel the contraction. Maybe you're sitting on your couch, maybe you're at your desk. Where's that contraction coming from? Who is making you feel bad in that moment? This is the place to really slow down, to really, really introspect. And notice that if you're sitting on the couch and you went from feeling good or neutral to feeling bad, you are doing that. And please see the power in that. With all due respect, please see the power that is offered to you in this realization. It's you making yourself feel bad. Grasp that lever for a moment and feel that. I, by the direction of my attention, can make myself feel horrible. Isn't it true? I, by the direction of my attention, can make myself feel victimized, at loss, overwhelmed, unmotivated. By the use of my attention and where I place my attention for how long, I can make myself feel downright miserable. And that's my superpower. And you'll see that this is your amazing superpower because you'll see that once you grasp that, once you really feel like it's not actually anybody else, unless there's somebody physically attacking you, torturing you, like taking away your resources, stealing from you, like physically. And I'm not talking about, again, blaming the government or whatever it may be for doing that. I'm talking about like here you are. You went from one moment being on your couch relatively content to the next moment feeling like you're losing something and nothing physically changed in your environment. That's all happening up here. That is the doing that you are doing as feeling within your consciousness. You're conjuring it up as the creator that you are, which is flawless and perfect and amazing that you can do this. You can make yourself appear as the most victimized, the most miserable, the most in the most undesirable state. You can do that. And if you can do that, you can do any other color on the spectrum, right? That's just one color, right? So you have that power and potential. So what we're doing here is we're realizing, wow, okay, so all of these things, this list that I made, I can see, okay, so what choices am I making that are contributing to me experiencing this, right? So starting to feel and build the bridge of choice. Like, for example, like if you're in a place where your neighbors seem to be abusive, where you're living, you don't want to live there because there's this force. And yet you're like, well, but I don't have money. And then what is my choice? Would be homeless or something like that? Obviously, I can't. I don't have a choice. I have to stay here. Don't let that be there as a thing in your consciousness that you don't have a choice. You absolutely always at all times and never not have a choice. You do. You always have a choice. So it's important to just own this choice. We're talking about taking back your creative power, right? So how do you own it? You just say, okay, yeah, so what choice am I making that is keeping me in this environment? Well, could I go to a homeless shelter? I could, right? But I'm making a choice to be here instead, in this place where I'm speaking all kinds of bad things about because I don't like my neighbors and what they're doing. But I am making the choice to be here, right? I could make the choice to be homeless. But I'm choosing this because I believe this is a better choice. Now, are there other choices you can make? For sure. But at the beginning, step number 1 is becoming aware of where you've given your power away. Step number 2 is owning your creative choice to experience that particular reality. Not in a bypassing way, not in a spiritual new age, flowery type of way, but literally putting your hand into the glove that appears to be somehow arbitrarily controlled by something else. If you put your hand in there and feel like, wow, yeah, I'm making that choice. I go this way and I can experience that sense of suffering and victimhood. I go this way, I can realize, wow, I'm making that choice. So just these two steps. Even if you literally just do this, you will already have moved so far into your creative potential that the rest of our discussion here is meaningless, because you will know what to do once you feel your creative potential. But just to preview it a little bit, to step fully into your creator consciousness is to really and deeply and fully accept that there are no two powers. There is not my will and God's will. There is no my will and your will. There is the one will, the one author who's authoring this world, this life, this creation, this dream, this play, far beyond our conversation earlier of the dream matrix and the dark and the light and all of that. There is an infinite intelligence unfolding through, in, and as you, me, the world. Okay? So to align ourselves with this infinite intelligence is to, number one, forgive everything. And it's natural, you will naturally be able to forgive everything the moment that you realize that it was your choice not to forgive, right? And we start to use then our emotional guidance system to see wherever we're experiencing some form of suffering, we are making a choice. And that choice is simply a choice in perception or in perspective. So we own that choice, and then we simply say, well, what's next? You say, what would I love to direct this power to instead, right? So to make that leap, there's a quick process. And that process is that you fall in love with your creation. You realize that that thing that you did, that you thought, even the whole setup of the victim over here, even that is completely on the way to your ultimate awakening, to your purpose, to your mission here. So it's important that we take this moment to connect the dots and try to see that everything that we've ever experienced in our life and everything that we shall ever experience and are experiencing now is on the way to our total fulfillment, to our awakening, to that which we, in our hearts of hearts, hope for, long for, desire, want, need. So that step is an important step. And the way you do that step is simply by questioning. Like, let's say you have an experience here where you think, oh, this really shouldn't have been, like, this is really bad. And you say, okay, what is right about this that I'm not seeing? How is this thing that I thought was bad that I thought was in my way, how is it on the way to my fulfillment? How is it actually serving me in fulfilling my purpose here? You start to ask these questions and they become this bridge. And what does this bridge build up to? Gratitude. You start to see and be grateful for your creative capacity. You start to see the workings of infinite intelligence, even in those things that you thought were complete mistakes and should never have been, because, of course, as the Course in Miracles talks about, as the scriptures talk about it, whatever man has meant for evil, God meant it for good. In the Course in Miracles, we talk about how the Holy Spirit is translating this dream matrix into awakening, into the happy dream. So this is how we come into alignment with that. We simply start to tell the truth. We tell the truth about what our obstacles are and where we've given our power away. We start to own our choice about how is this actually happening? How did I participate in that? And then we start to see how every one of those things is actually on the way, never in the way, always serving us, never detracting from us. And then as we build out these three pillars, we start to naturally see that, wow, I would love to play a new game now. A game of love, joy, peace, fulfillment, giving, abundance, generosity, all of that, versus the experience that I've been playing and exploring, which is the experience of victim and perpetrator, hero, villain. Maybe I've had enough of that game for now, and I want to create something else, right? And you're going to find many people who, just like you found many people creating this game, there's other people creating a game that is called the New Earth, Heaven on Earth, whatever you want to call that. But it's available. It's a choice. And it begins with what we're doing internally as we engage and interact with the world. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions about what we talked about here, drop them down in the comments below. If this is truly making sense for you, I bet you there's many people for whom it doesn't really make sense. So if you want to reiterate your understanding and just put it in the comments as well about like, how does this actually make sense? How is this practical? How did it work in your life, right? And that will, of course, help and inspire others and help them to see new perspectives and ideas. So I want to thank you. I wish you all the very best. Really put this knowledge into practice and share about your experience. If you actually go through the exercises, apply the steps, I would love to hear about the awakenings and insights or the downright failures, which I don't expect, but whatever you experience, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. Take great care, and I will see you again soon.
The silence of existence amidst the echoes of time. Awareness meets the boundless, a dance so sublime. I'm aware, whispers the soul in a realm so divine. Beyond the avatar, beyond the mind, where the eternal light shine. Awareness, awareness, in this cosmic way, timeless, change.